A very good afternoon. Thanks for clicking on to the Tuesday edition of Vogan's European Outlook. Quite a bit of volatility in the model runs. Some of the models backing off, some of the models actually becoming even stronger with the cold. The ECMWF was a bit late to the Beast from the East party, if you will, while the GFS was right on it. Now it seems that it's kind of flipped around, where the GFS is backed off. The ECMWF has actually grown stronger with the cold. But this is something that is expected. I thought this would take place because we've got a very, very volatile situation going on here when you're talking about these extremes in terms of not only cold but also warm. The modelling can sometimes have a difficult time knowing how to distribute the warmth and the cold. So it's going to be a very interesting second half to this week. There's no question about that. And, nothing is nailed down. Nothing is written in stone. And, at the end of the day, we just have to wait and see what happens. I'm still on board with the very, very cold period weekend in through next week. Some of the models kick that cold out pretty quick. Other models are a little bit more reluctant to do so, and really when you go beyond a certain time frame, it's almost a waste of time looking at computer models, because you know fine well it's going to chop and change, and that is something that I've always very cautious about. I've learned over the years not to buy solely into model runs. Now, I've seen many examples in the last few days where people have jumped on board with this idea that we're going to get this extreme beast from the east, getting all excited. Then that same person perhaps may come back to me and say, oh, the model's now flipped to warm, it's going to be rain instead of snow and -10. Let's try to understand exactly the pattern that's going on at the moment and take these model runs with a pinch of salt. It's looking at the trend, it's understanding exactly the physics behind what the atmosphere is doing, and these models are not the be-all and end-all in terms of forecasting. They're tools in order to forecast, they're not the actual solution. So this is the GFS ensemble, this is the 850 millibar temperature anomaly here, and this is a good example of what I'm talking about here. So if we skip through, and I apologise if it is shaky a wee bit here. I'm just having a bit of a hard time with a few things at the moment, technology-wise, between the laptop and the phone here. So you can see here as we skip through, let's have a look and see exactly what's going on. Because remember, there's a lot of warm weather here. There's a lot of warm air at this latitude here, whereas we've got a world of cold here up the top. So, of course, when you've got these massive contrasts, 14 degrees in the south of England today, 2 or 3 degrees in heavy snowfall across the north here. You've got a very dynamic situation here, a very complex situation here, and it is not simple. And, of course, the modelling is having a bit of a hard time handling these extremes. So you can see here as we skip through, this would be into Tuesday and Wednesday. You can see here the big divide, cold across Scotland, very mild, and the milder, in fact, is trying to lift its way up into the central belt of Scotland, and that, folks, is why it's a bit of a battle zone here in terms of rain, sleet, and snow between the M8 corridor, Glasgow to Edinburgh. Here we may see initially snow, we may see a change over rain, we may see a change back over to snow again, because we've got that milder air trying to dig in from the south here. Bit further north, and especially away from the coast, you have a greater chance of seeing snowfall, not to mention the fact that you've got elevation to support the cold as well. But you can see here as we go forward here, this is into Thursday and Friday and into the weekend here. Notice here the cold air starts to kind of push in. Notice though there's a bit of a disconnect. You've got milder air trying to push into the UK here. We've got the cold, but you notice here the cold here, this is of course the 850 anomalies here, but you've got this bit of a battleground here, so to speak, fiercely warm air over the Mediterranean, very cold air across the northern half of the UK. of course, the core of the cold is over Scandinavia. So you notice here it's kind of bending round as opposed to coming straight off Scandinavia. So that is where the modelling is having a hard time dealing with this warmth and, of course, this cold here. And you can see here that, generally speaking, you do get the surge of cold here coming off Scandinavia in the form of easterly winds. This is, of course, at 18Z on Sunday, the 7th of February. And then you get a little bit more of a mixing, moderation in temperature, because you've got milder air coming in from the west or the southwest as we go forward. Now let's have a look at the ECMWF control run here, and this is where it gets interesting, because this model was pretty it wasn't showing the cold air. It wasn't actually showing a lot of cold air in the initial, but now if you notice here, it is showing that extreme card. So we'll see the bitterly warmer, I'll get that right, Persian east over the Mediterranean, watching the bitterly colder to the north over Russia and over Scandinavia. And what happens is that gets shoved westwards here into the British Isles here. You notice that we'll lose any warmth here. That gets drawn eastwards. And of course you've got that pull westwards into the UK. This would be the extreme version, by the way. This would be the extreme card. And of course this is Wednesday of next week here. So that's over a week away. So just basically wanted to talk about the volatility in the models. Don't buy into individual model runs. And of course, because of the extremity of the pattern, the modelling is having a difficult time distributing the various air masses. So a lot of interesting things to come here. Keep it right here on YouTube, on my website, marvelingweather.com. On Twitter, I have regular updates on that. And I'll be back in the next couple of days with more. Bye for now.